When I meet new Special Olympic athletes or meet new coaches, what I like to do is talk to the coach, introduce them to the athlete, and ask the athlete and the coach just have just some general conversation, get to know each other a little bit. Have the athlete talk to the coach about why they're interested in golf, why they're interested in being in sports, and it acts as a bit of an icebreaker. I think the important thing for a caddy and an athlete to have is an understanding of what an athlete's expectations are of themselves and what that athlete's expectations are of the caddy. So it's a good time for some level setting. I think that the caddies, if they have golf experience, that's fantastic. If they have golf and Special Olympics experience, that's great. But in some cases they don't. So the approach would be to treat a Special Olympic athlete like anybody else you meet. So if a caddy has golfed before, just treat that athlete like you would if you meet some new golfers that you're going to play with in a round. Typically, asking athletes what other experience they have in other sports is a great way to start. It helps you understand if they have any other athletic skills that they can bring into golf. So you understand what their skill acquisition might be already, and you can understand where they are in terms of how easy it is to incorporate skills from golf into their current acquisition library, I guess you could call it. Right, so preparing for a competitive experience, typically by this point, the athletes have been to some competitions. It might be their first competition, but generally there's enough athletes in the program that have been. They can share their experiences with other athletes. Caddies and coaches can share their experiences to what they can expect at a competition. Additionally, in our program, we like to ensure that we give the athlete as much information that we have available to us before competition. So we're making sure that they're prepared, they have all their equipment, they know where to meet, what time they need to meet, when they arrive, what they need to do, who they need to register in with, make sure that they check in with their caddy and their head coach. And then from there, we, at the competition site, always make sure that we talk to the athletes and make sure that they're feeling comfortable or they may be feeling a bit nervous, and that's okay. We talk with them through that, help them understand what they're feeling is normal. Competition jitters or competition perhaps apprehension. That's a good thing. Harness that into positive energy. So we always make sure that we provide our athletes and our parents too with enough information so that they feel very comfortable arriving at the competition venue. I think generally for a caddy it's good to probably have a checklist, for a pre-tournament checklist on site. So when you meet up with your athlete, firstly make sure that ask them if they've had a meal, what have they had to hydrate with, make sure that they have all their equipment, check the equipment, obviously make sure you count the number of clubs, etc. in the bag. Also ensure that they take a bio break before they head out onto the course. Ensure that they have water and snacks with them for on the course, water or any type of sensible hydration. And also double check with them, make sure that they haven't had any recent injury or illness that you should be aware of that might either flare up or resurface in a competition environment. It could be a hot day, it could be something as simple as they've just overcome a flu and they just don't have enough energy. And also just double check if they are an athlete that takes regular medication, or they might have allergies, so they carry an EpiPen. Make sure you have that. Make sure they have that on them. Check it. Make sure that it's available to them on the course. And if they need to take it before or after, make sure that you watch that they've done that. So this year we held a provincial qualifier, and we had some caddies with our athletes that had never officially caddied before. There were some caddies that were quite nervous about doing that, and we talked them through a caddy sort of training presentation, field their questions beforehand, and also talked to them on site. Made sure that they understood what sort of the general minimum expectations were of the caddies, and anything above that we appreciated, but we weren't asking them to go above and beyond. But we also made sure that they understood that if they were uncomfortable about something such as a ruling or a situation, or there may be a safety situation or a medical situation, that there were other support people at the venue, at the competition, to help them. And so we gave them the information that they needed to be able to get a hold of those people at the competition. So as a caddy, if you're working with an athlete for the first time and you're at competition, you might encounter some unique decision making by an athlete. You're obviously able to ask the athlete what their thoughts are around maybe a club selection. Maybe they're going to use a wedge or something interesting off the tee box. Maybe they're going to line up in front of the tee box. There's various things that we want you to watch out for, obviously. And so it's quite all right to talk to your athlete, not coaching them, but just talk to your athlete and ask them what decisions they're making and are they the right decisions. Also, the one thing that I would stress as a caddy is that you're really, with a Special Olympic athlete, you really should understand that safety is primarily the main focus and factor of an athlete. Not all athletes have a sense of self-awareness out on the course, and so it's very important that when you see something that might be a safety issue or a safety matter, to make sure that you intervene. I think when you work with an athlete as a caddy, if you have the opportunity to work with an athlete on a more frequent basis, there are probably some helpful maybe trigger words or things that you can apply with your athlete that will help them remember certain things in certain situations. So maybe when they're teeing off, or maybe when they're having a bunker shot or on the green, there's certain keywords that will help them remember, yep, no grounding the club in the bunker, making sure I lift and mark and lift my ball so that it's not in the way of anybody else. So just some simple things that you and your athlete can implement to help the athlete, because they don't, in competition, always remember everything that they might routinely remember in a practice. Yeah, I think a caddy should always check in with a coach. If you have that opportunity to talk to the coach of the athlete, generally the head coach is available and has information on all of the athletes as to some specifics for each athlete to either be aware of, to help encourage, or to remind the athletes along the way. And so I think checking in with the coach is a great idea, and also just having conversation with the athlete in advance of the competition starting, just so that if there's anything unique that the athlete is requesting or maybe is expecting of a caddy, that you talk about it before you tee off. Yeah, it's helpful for a caddy to keep track of the athlete's score. Some athletes are very competent at scoring their score and their partner's score, but it would be very helpful for caddies to also shadow that scoring, and at the end of that hole, check in with the athlete to ensure that what score they believe they have aligns with the score that you believe they have, and then you can talk about it and make sure that there's no issues, and that before you move on to the next tee, that the score is comfortable and verified. What I also find helpful is just asking athletes, how do they remember their scores? What are they doing? Are they actually counting the number of swings, or are they counting the clubs they used? Just to understand their thought process around how they score. That's always something I find interesting and also very helpful and insightful.